Hello and welcome to another episode of Belfast. This one's a bit earlier than last week's, but I'm just trying to figure out when the best time to release the episodes is. So if you want to send across your thoughts, it would be greatly appreciated. Don't know whether people prefer it at the start of the week, on a Sunday, or maybe at the start of the weekend. So let us know what you think and whatever suits best. But I'm just looking forward to turning these podcasts out, and we're getting a really good response to it. Thanks again for listening to the podcast with Jane Morris. I know it was a bit longer than usual, but I found it really interesting speaking with Jane. She may not be, a household name that you've recognised or you've heard of before, but just the experience that she's had and just the experiences and exposure that she's had throughout her career kind of blew me away a bit, and it's just great speaking to people like that. So thanks again. This week's interview is with Rigsy. So Rigsy is a DJ on BBC Radio Ulster. He's a co-host of Across the Line, which is a very popular radio show on BBC Ulster that discovers new music in Northern Ireland. And Rigsy's also a DJ in Limelight a couple of nights a week and runs a number of club nights in Limelight. I've known Rigsy for a good few years now, mainly from attending Stiff Kitten religiously when I was back in my younger age. But he's a really good guy, and I really appreciate him putting the time aside to speak to me. I think it was a good chat we had and very interesting to listen to. So, I'll not keep you any longer. Here is my interview with Rigsy. Here we go. Okay, we're here with Rigsy. Rigsy, if you want to just introduce yourself a bit and how you ended up in Belfast.
Well, I'm Rigsy, David O'Reilly, although my mum, the only person I think left that calls me David is my dad. Even whenever I'm in trouble with like my wife or something, I still get Rigsy. Sometimes get it shortened to Riggs. That seems to be the sort of more formal version of it. I'm not super keen on the fact that I have a nickname. I find it every day I'm reminded of how weird it is. But anyway,
where'd it come from?
There was a girl when I was in P6. I went to school in Castlewellan. I'm not going to say her name, but although I did try and find her on Facebook, and she was technically my first girlfriend. Although I never kissed her, and I used to get dogs abuse from the slightly more outgoing. This is P7. Like, it's mental that there was any kissing going on. I think anyway. I was very sheltered, but I was scared to kiss her, and all my kind of more outgoing ones in P7 used to give me dogs abuse. They called me frigid because I couldn't kiss this girl. And there was no reflection on her.
Yeah.
It was the fact that I was 10 and the idea of kissing a girl just seemed absolutely horrifying. But she called me Rigsy, and as to why, you'd need to ask her. I have absolutely no idea to this day, but she called me Rigsy, and then it went away. And then I said, whenever I was in first year at school, I said to this guy, who actually went on to be my best man, totally randomly, first person I met, and I was very socially inept, and as a result, kind of bullied and stuff in school. And I went up to him and was trying to make a friend. I went, "Oh, my name's David, but some people call me Rigsy." And he kind of, even though when he would have been like 11, he flinched and went, "Oh my God, what a loser." And then I was fine. We didn't end up friends, probably because I said that to him. But then over the years, we ended up in the same clique, and we went on to be like best mates. And then he brought this up the very first time I met you. The name had kind of been dormant for years. He goes, "The very first time I met you, this is what you said." And everyone thought it was just hysterical, and then it just locked in again. And of course, the more I tried to get people not to call me Rigsy, the more people called me Rigsy. And then at some point in my life, when I was about 19 or 20, I just had to make my peace with it. I just be right. I'm just going to be Rigsy for the rest of my life.
You haven't officially changed it or anything?
Well, I haven't changed my deed poll or anything. And I have at some point. A couple of my friends, I've tried to rebrand them, give them nicknames. A friend called Stephen, and I went through this phase where I was trying to get him called Ace. Don't know where this joke came from, as a social experiment to see how long it would take, or if it was possible to completely rebrand somebody, and I almost did it. He almost became Ace, like to the wider world. But it's harder to get a nickname than that than you'd think. And there's very few people I know that actually have nicknames that sort of overshadow their real names, and it is a very strange thing, because so many times people have said David, and I've not responded, and
it's not that bad.
Yeah, that you forget your own name. I mean, that's a very strange thing. So yeah.
So you were saying there you went to school in Castlewell.
Well, I went to primary school at Castlewell. Went to Red High in Downpatrick, and don't know. Just the whole time, I grew up with a cross line. Back whenever people listened to radio shows as a real proper engagement. Right, this is what I'm going to be doing between 8 and 10. I used to listen to Cross Line and was besotted with Mike Edgar, and used to go to the red phone box across the road where I used to live to enter the competitions every night. And more often than not, I would win because it's just the biggest load of tat to be given away. Sometimes they have brilliant prizes, but this is back when the BBC used to be able to give away just whatever they wanted without there being all this red tape. Every night there'd be a competition, and I'd entered, and some nights I would imagine now, at the time, I thought the whole world was entering these competitions, and it would be for some, like a load of promo CDs or some rubbish book or that had somebody on talking about or whatever, and I'd enter the competition and I'd win. And I won the competition so many times, 30 odd times over a period of 3 years, that across the line, the team got to know me as that slightly obsessive, possibly kind of, obsessive, fan of the show. So whenever I sort of came to Belfast, and I had an opportunity to go on across the line to promote a gig that I was running in Belfast whenever I was at uni. And they all knew me, as that guy,
the crazy guy.
yeah. Mike kind of probably, there's people that I know now. Well, not so much, because Mike was a much more revered presenter than I have ever been, and also this was back whenever radio presenters, John Peel, Steve Lamacq, they really were idolised. Now that doesn't happen as much because people don't. The people rely on bloggers and on all sorts, and
more visual things.
Yeah, social influencers online for their music. But back then, you had Mike Edgar, you had John Peel, you had Steve Lamacq, and they were just gods. So, I know now some people that are really big fans of the show, like Taylor Johnson, a brand new friend. Whenever I first met him, he knew everything about Across the Line. He was basically me, or as close to me as I've ever met. And then obviously he went on to be, I was a field musician, he went on to be a very successful musician. But, so I was that guy that everybody knew. So that sort of gave me a head start. And whenever they met me and realised that I wasn't some kind of, I wasn't sort of, going to try and collect Mike Edgar's eyebrows or anything, I wasn't like a sociopath. And then it was kind of, I suppose, but the first time these people would have met me at Across the Line, they probably went, oh, he's actually quite harmless. Yeah. Which would imply that I might have been quite harmful. And
what were you saying?
No, but it was just, listen, I was just like, I was that guy. I was the guy that was just, oh my God, and I didn't realise I was that guy, because I thought everybody was that guy. It's only whenever I went to Belfast I realised Belfast is tiny and Northern Ireland is tiny, and it's not like London, and it's, and Mike Edgar isn't John Peel, and and that's something that I've gone on to learn. It's just an absolute village, and everybody knows everybody. So I was that guy. So I went in, and I always say to people, enthusiasm goes a very long way, and dedication. And I've been absolutely astonished over the years with the amount of sort of initially enthusiastic people that come to us, and they're, I really want to get into radio and I can't get in, and it's my ambition to present a radio show, or my ambition to write about music. I was telling them sort of this story about how I started and the importance of enthusiasm, and then they just fall by the wayside, and I've never understood that. The only reason that I was able to sort of get as far as I did, as fast as I did, back in my early 20s, was just my relentless enthusiasm, and the fact that I also wasn't, I guess I knew where the line was. I was kind of slightly socially awkward, and still maintain that I am slightly socially awkward, and because of that I wasn't all up in their face. I was sort of nervous but enthusiastic, and I think that was quite a good combination. So I didn't get on anyone's tits, my old producer Paul, who then produced Crossline for years, if I would have done anything for him, I would have done absolutely anything, but at the same time I wasn't ringing him every single day, go and give me stuff to do. I just was sort of in the shadows waiting. I was never that far away from the BBC, both metaphorically and literally, and if something needed done, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I'll just be there going, right, I'll do it. You know what I mean? So I think that sort of combination of enthusiasm and slight nervousness probably did me proud in those early years.
And then when did you? It was 2002. You got.
Well,
you
I
finally
started
made the jump
contributing. I was a piano teacher in Newcastle, so I was studying at Queen's as well, but I wasn't. I mean, I was doing English, and I wasn't super into it. I wasn't super academic, but I loved being at university. I absolutely loved it because it was that stepping stone of, you know, back when you got your grants and all the rest of it. It was you were in the real world, but you weren't really, you know. So you were living up on your own, and you're away from your parents, and you could stay as late as you want and do whatever you want. But at the same time, you know, you didn't have a mortgage and other people to look after and all the kind of grown up things that would follow. So I absolutely loved that, and obviously studying English at like literally 4 hours a week. So I spent all my free time writing about music and putting on gigs, and I was in a band, so I was promoting our own gigs and just doing everything to do with music, just making the most. Like I practically, my third year in Queen's, I was practically working full time for a magazine, BBM, back when people read magazines.
Is that with Colin Murray, I think?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was Colin, because I knew Colin before he was Colin.
Yeah.
You know, Colin. Well, he had Blank, which was he did it with Paul McNamee, who was they were just both journalists, and my first sort of published work was for Blank magazine, and then that became BBM. And that was before Colin was anybody. That was whenever Colin used to just sit at home playing, you know, computer games all day long before he was on Top of the Pops or whatever. But that was just because I had the time, you know. I was piano teaching at the weekends. I go home on Friday, teach all day Friday, teach all day Saturday, come out on Saturday night, go to Vico's, and then Monday to Friday I'd do my 4 hours at Queen's, and then the rest of the time I would just be up in Lisburn at the BBM office, or be in the BBC, or be, you know, meeting up with my mate Rich, who we would put on gigs with, and one thing led to another, and then I was invited on probably around 2000 on Across the Line to talk about a gig that I was running. And then off the back of that, I probably stayed an extra 10 minutes after the interview talking to the producers, and they were going,
Did they still know you as that?
No, that's when they did know. They only knew me as that guy. You know,
okay.
It was before they sort of got to know the real me, which was still that guy, but maybe a little more together. And then there was a job come up. I went for the job, and then they decided to rebrand the show. January 2002. Mike Egger was kind of moving into the management, stepping down as presenter, and myself and Donald Egg. Donald was already an established presenter. We got the gig, and everything else just sort of came from there. And I was full-time, not full-time at the BBC now, but I was full-time at the BBC for years, presenting and kind of co-producing Across the Line, or assistant producing it would have been really, for a number of years.
That's
so,
what, 16 years now you've been on that?
So yeah, 16 and a half years, which is just crazy. Like, you know, I turned 40 this year as well, and you know, I think about this every single day of my life, about turning 40, and my boss in here is turning 50. His birthday's next week, and he's been talking about, you know, he's just talking about turning 50, and, you know, it was very, he sort of saying to me, when you turn 50, and I want to make changes, and, you know, and all very positive things, and I'm just thinking, you know, I want to have that approach, but it sort of feels to me like getting older, a lot of the changes that I make would be arguably negative, you know. Am I too old to present the radio show? Am I too old to be DJing to a room full of 18-year-olds twice a week? You know, so that's sort of the little crisis that I've been having this year, building up to my 40th birthday. And Lisa, like my wife, she thinks whenever I turn 40 at midnight, I'm just going to like walk into the sea and never go back to Reggie Pern, is that what he was called? So yeah.
Do you think the hosting, like Across the Line, does that keep you like in your youth? Not that you're old, you know, you've got your finger in the pulse.
I think because Across the Line, I think it's you know, I don't think Across the Line is really a youth program. I mean, it's kind of branded that way, but you know, the bands that we play all the time, you know, your Brand New Friends and So Watch It Before, and previous to that, Two Door and Snow Patrol, they're not like kiddie bands, they're not like pop acts or whatever. So I don't really think that's, you know, my co-presenter, Stuart's been co-presenting the show with me for a couple of years now, and sure he wouldn't mind me saying he's a bit older than me, and you know, so I think if I was to quit because of my age, I think he'd be going, where's that leave me? But so no, obviously the DJing does, you know, I DJ twice a week, and I run the clubs in this venue we're in now, the Limelight, and we have a sister venue in Dublin. So you have to be on the ball. It's, you know, you have to know to market a club night the type of stuff that I do. You have to know